but in global cooling. That's why I've always been emphasizing that the Climate Change Commission is there in order to encourage technical and scientific debate. The jury is still out as far as climate change is concerned. But whatever, we have to prepare, because whether it's going either way, definitely it's going to affect food production, it's going to affect our lifestyle.
Chair of the Philippine Center for Environmental Protection and Sustainable Development. I just want to take off from what the Congressman said, because I mean, while there are some people who still debate whether it's here or not, I think the reality is that we're already experiencing it here in the Philippines. The IPCC report noted that there are going to be 4 major consequences of climate change, and one of them is that there will be more rainfall. And East Asia will have a 14% increase, which will not be evenly distributed in the region. And a recent study by the ADB, Asian Development Bank, released in this year, 2009, looking at the economic impacts of climate change in Southeast Asia, pointed out that Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam will actually be drier in the next 2 decades, but the Philippines will actually be wetter. And we've seen this happen, as pointed out. We had rainfall in Metro Manila equivalent to 1 month's average in just 6 hours. It's not even a day. And this is not just, what's recent in our minds is Ondoy and Piping. But, and Piping brought 4 times the rainfall in Ilocos Sur, Laguna, Pangasinan, and Baguio, and 5 times the rainfall in Lawag. But remember, way back in 2003, the same thing already happened in Southern Leyte and also in 2005. And on the other hand, the second impact on sea level rise, as pointed by the Congressman, the numbers may not seem big, but the reality is for an archipelago like the Philippines, it is a major concern to us also because in addition to that, what's aggravating the condition, Congressman, especially in many of our key urban centers, is the fact that we are over-extracting the groundwater and we have ground subsidence. So for Metro Manila, this is studied, there's empirical data. In Caloocan, the land has gone down by 1.4 meters. Bumagsak na po yung lupa. So if even if the sea, and there is some sea level rise as well, and that's the reason why in Kamanaba, just a mere high tide, and they're already flooded. It wasn't like that before. Specifically for Parañaque, the 2 stations monitored show a 0.43 and a 0.46 land subsidence already in these areas, and people have to become aware of that to lessen precisely the vulnerability of the Philippines. No? And extreme weather is also a third consequences, and we already see that. So it is to our interest, really, to start doing something. And I like what was pointed out by John earlier, that it's actually a matter of pointing fingers, because we all do contribute to the problem. It's a global problem that's affecting all of us, and that's why we also need to. I don't think there's also a debate on should it be mitigation, meaning should we reduce releases of greenhouse gases, or should we be reducing risk? We have to do both. It's not like we have a choice. We have a moral obligation, no matter how small our contribution is, to reduce that contribution. Because even if we have the financial crisis now, and the reason, and because of that, emissions are going down, let's not forget that the greenhouse gases stay in the atmosphere for years. I mean, what they emitted in the 50s and 60s are still affecting us now. And we have to therefore really reduce in whatever way we can. But on the one hand, given the vulnerability of our country, we are number 4 in the global risk index for climate change. We really have to be very serious about adaptation. I just wanted to raise this also and have the opportunity to share it with everyone. Thank you.
We can take maybe 2 more questions from the audience. I'd like to take this opportunity to ask Dr. Steinbach a question. Sir, is there hope for sustainable development in a country like the Philippines, where the population is out of control? Is there hope, in your experience of what you've seen abroad, countries, developing countries like the Philippines, where population is a very big problem? We're going to double our population in the next 50 years or so, and it's out of control. So, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that, sir?
Well, the answer is sort of hidden in the question, I think, that you presented. But let me just say that I think that it's a very interesting time for one can speculate a little bit, and play a visionary one as well. It's a very interesting time to live because we have these 2 huge nations, China and India, industrializing. China now sort of very far in the middle, India following over time. That means a lot of resource constraints. At the same time, you have a population problem. You have the industrialization problem that was created a long time ago without the CNN being around. So we are sort of paying by the development that happened in Western Europe, United States, and Japan. Once response level is limited, but it doesn't mean that it's non-existent. I think that the jury may be out in the sense that to sort of quantify the precise impact of this crisis will take time. It's an incremental debate that will continue. But what struck me with the research that was done in the United States on the climate change, and people now having less of a view of that, being more skeptical about it, the same research also indicated that people would like to have more research. There are more people who want to have research. And that is now being used almost as a rationalization for waiting with this issue. And this may be easier in the United States, where the problems, where the capability to adapt may be higher, relatively speaking, and the resources for that. It may be easier in Western Europe. It may be even easier in Japan, perhaps. But it will not be so in Southeast Asia. It won't be so even in China or India. And I think it's very important that the regional initiatives that become prominent here, actually a country like Philippines can play a very prominent role in that, precisely pointing out the issue of vulnerability that we heard very eloquently earlier today. I think it's very, very important and not very well known in